Hi everyone, I'm Ronan Unchained. Still a little jet lag from coming back from Star Wars Celebration, but I have to break down, theorize about the Ahsoka teaser trailer on camera because I've just been writing stuff down and just screaming out loud, what does this mean and what does that mean? Da, 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 da. But I'm gonna say let's watch the trailer again and see what stuff I either caught or theories I have about the show to come on August. Oh man.
Something's coming. Something dark. I sense it.
Okay. For the opening sequence that we just saw, these first 21 seconds, I believe that Ahsoka Tano is making her way, traversing either into Morban / Korban or Exegol, which are known homeworlds of the Sith. I think the architecture, the structure of it all, it feels like that's the case. That she's investigating stuff and is going to the places where it's either forbidden or not a lot of people go to. It's weird because there's engravings that look similar to another location that I'll bring up later, but that's my biggest takeaway breakdown theory is that like she's in an ancient section. We see her doing her move from Siege of Mandalore, where she puts her sabers down, twists them up with the Force. She used that when her and Rex were trying to escape the Venator, I believe, ship where all the clones were trying to attack them. So I love that little nod.
This is a new beginning.
We see Sabine Wren, played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo, staring at her helmet and, in my opinion, potentially meditating, doing something very Jedi-like. People have been talking about her. She has long hair and whatnot, and I think it's a gorgeous long hair. But the biggest takeaway I've gotten the second I saw that long hair verse is that whatever moments we have between the Sabine and Ahsoka or other allies or enemies against her when she has the long hair, that time period is going to be before the epilogue of Rebels. It's, in my opinion, it's going to be during A New Hope, Empire, and Return of Jedi time period. I believe that that's the time that we're going to spend seeing where she's been, what she's been doing. How does she take the fall of Mandalore? Has she been in Lothal the whole time? Does she go help and whatnot? How much hope she has left in her? After 5 years, 6, 7 years of her friend being missing? Who knows? But yeah, my biggest takeaway is that we're going to spend time during the middle of the Civil War. So while Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie, Lando, 3PO, and R2-D2 are doing their thing on one side of the galaxy, we're going to see what Sabine and everybody else might potentially be doing on the other side of the galaxy. Alright. Oof, before I get to the shot. Ahsoka's battling these droids in this ancient location. Those look a lot like the droids that Morgan Elsbeth, that we'll see later, had in her episode, where both her and Ahsoka appeared in the Mandalorian Season 2 episode, The Jedi. Yeah! Oh, Hera, Syndulla, and Chopper. Oh my god. Alright. This was another another moment that like I was just like... Anyways, we see General Hera Syndulla and Chopper chasing down what I think is potentially a robbery in the Phantom 2. Phantom 2 was a side vehicle, side ship that was introduced in Rebels that is complementary to their main ship that I'm waiting patiently to see again in live action. That sequence is going to have connection to another sequence we'll see later in the teaser that I'll bring up later. But now we have our eyes on Baylan talking about that what's coming and the perspectives people might have of what's coming. So Baylan and his apprentice, who I believe his name is Shin Hati, are going after new Republic officers. Why? I don't know, because typically, unless an Inquisitor is in play, Darkseid users around that time played in the shadows. They did their missions in the shadows and weren't out open on the public. That usually most of that stuff was sort of like folklore, scary stories people would tell to kids, and they were unfortunately real stuff that would happen. Woo, they're doing it. So we see shots of the epilogue recreated. You see that the Jedi ship, a la Ahsoka ship, being escorted by 2 X-Wing pilots. But we see it kind of different because the shots we see it happening, at least in the foreground, is with Sabine and her long hair. In the epilogue, it's happening the same way, a little bit earlier in the day, not sort of at sunset, but Sabine has shorter hair. It's one we're presented to, like, what happened after 5 years of the events of Rebels, and then after the Battle of Endor.
It's been a while. Things have changed.
Alright. It's been a while, things have changed. I'm wondering, when did Sabine Wren find out that her friend had lived? Because up until that point, unless Ezra told him, but I don't know, we never got that info, is that as far as she knew at that time, Ahsoka died when Ezra and Kanan went to Malachor. And what happens when they came back is that Kanan was blinded. That's about it. Unless Ezra probably spilled it and be like, yo, you're not gonna believe what happened. Ahsoka lives. Judging by the costumes. Now again, this is where I can't believe it. I'm getting geeky and nerdy about it. But the costume. Ahsoka looks like she's still wearing the same costume she had when she met Din Djarin in the episode The Jedi of Mando Season 2. And they're putting this much thought into details. What Ahsoka wears in the epilogue is different than what we've been seeing mostly shown in this teaser trailer. So a lot of this stuff could be happening before the epilogue, before they go off searching for a missing friend. I'm curious to see how much that plays out. And maybe, I might be crazy. This could be all BS. I could be wrong, and I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. But what I might lose sleep over it is this. So, I'm seeing a frame of what the next shot is. Does Mon Mothma, played by Genevieve O'Reilly, Chancellor Mon Mothma at this time, does she share the same sentiment of, like, I keep hearing these whispers? That'll be an interesting takeaway to being like, all right, the politics side, how do the politicians feel about these whispers that these warriors, protagonists of ours, are saying they're hearing about the coming darkness? Will they be like, that's BS, you're looking for ghosts where there aren't. The war is over. There's peace. Rejoice and whatnot. And there might be others being like, no. I can sense it in my bones. We're not done with what we defeated. It easily wants to come back and destroy everything we've worked for so hard to achieve. I love that Mon Mothma has this just look. It's a look. I could be wrong. It's that look of like, there's peace, but I know better than not to listen to my old friends. Again, Mon Mothma and Ahsoka know each other. Mon Mothma and Hera Syndulla know each other. So I would assume that, yes, she's handling her delegations in politics, but her old friends, her old allies that fought during the war and are still potentially active are telling her, think it through. I got a hunch. I got a bad feeling. Nobody wants this to happen. But if our old friend is lost out there and potentially still alive, something else could still be potentially alive. And if he could return, that X factor could still return. That danger can still rise again. Yeah!
As heir to the Empire.
Ow! Okay. Oh man, that's another shot. Okay. Thrawn's back. We see the backside of his head. And we see a glimpse of his ship. And in his ship, there's at least like 3 sides of like mappings and whatnot. And we see a droid and we see Morgan Elsbeth staring at it. And he has like his own mini throne that's made out of gold and whatnot. I'd have to go back to the Timothy Zahn novels and see how much details are about if he has his own ship. And that might be his own ship. Besides the goosebumps of seeing Thrawn there, she says, as heir to the Empire. Folks, if you don't know much of these characters in this potential storyline, that character they're hinting at, that's very much ominous and just in the shadows, name is Grand Admiral Thrawn. Right now, I can't pronounce his full name, but I'll probably put it down here. This character was introduced to public back in the mid-80s, late 80s, early 90s, right after Return of the Jedi. And he was created by this author named Timothy Zahn, who created this trilogy of books called the Thrawn Trilogy, the Heir to the Empire Trilogy. And for a lot of folks, for a while, was canon of like, okay, after Return of the Jedi, this is the stories that follow off. This is what happened to Han, Luke, Leia, and the new antagonist that would face them. And that's just a little nod of what the creator Timothy Zahn had done, what that storyline might do, and also hinting at what they might be doing in adapting those storylines, books, into further stories, either in this series and the movie that Dave Filoni is set to direct. I don't know. I'm not in Lucasfilm. I'm not at Disney. I'm not in those offices to be like, what are they saying? Are they what? But shout out to Timothy Zahn. I was very fortunate enough to meet him a while back when the character had just been reintroduced, because by the time that Disney had bought Lucasfilm, they had set all those comic book stories and whatnot characters as legends and not canon. By the grace of Dave Filoni and team and the people who are hardcore geeks at Lucasfilm, they've slowly brought back elements of legends, ships, characters, drinks, references, whatnot, back into the main storylines we've been getting thus far, specifically with Mandalorian and Rebel stories. Whew, man, are they gonna do the books? I don't know. Anyways, let's continue.
We have to prepare for the worst.
All right. So Ahsoka and Baylan, played by Ray Stevenson, are battling in the place that I'm either considering in the world between worlds or a Starforged map by KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic. I don't know how much I should say because I'm trying to do my best to geek out here, but also there's a lot of people who aren't familiar with these characters, these storylines, and these locations. Let's just say that in both instances, if those two characters are battling it out with lightsabers in the world between worlds or Starforged map, these are big deals for the galaxy at hand. And that's all I'm going to say because I almost said something very spoilerish about those locations. It is a big deal if my predictions, theories are right. Again, I could be wrong, but something I also noticed is that in that location, there are like lights and like standing whatnot, like sort of like what the Nazis would do in Raiders of the Lost Ark, was once they got the Ark of the Covenant, they would set up stuff for Belloc and the Third Reich to do their experiments and whatnot. So I'm wondering, have the Imperial remnants have a breakthrough into these big scenario locations? If so, what are they doing? Because normally that stuff shouldn't be there. Of what I know, those lamps and stuff like the suitcases and whatnot stuff, that shouldn't be there at all. It's an ancient mystical location. So somebody's been there and somebody wants to do a tour group around those locations, which is a big no-no for good and bad reasons. And then Harrison Dula suggesting we should prep for the worst, for the disaster. I believe that sequence we saw of Mon Mothma and the rest of the New Republic like politicians is that one where Hera's facing her. So Hera then talking to Hera and potentially bringing up that, listen, there's trouble, there's a bad moon rising, and maybe she's asking for permission to do some more investigative work. And let it be said, this is not the first time someone's brought up this potential danger. Captain Carson Teva in The Mandalorian, multiple seasons, have been saying that there's some incidents occurring in those stories that can't be a coincidence.
The Jedi fell a long time ago. There aren't many left.
Ezra! So Ahsoka says the Jedi fell a long time ago, there aren't many left. And we see Sabine Wren watching a hologram recording of Ezra Bridger, an old friend of hers. An old friend of Ahsoka, and an old friend of mostly our main heroes and main characters in this series to come. That is hinting at where are the Jedi in this time period. Asking us, why would they put this voiceover when we see Baylan, Ray Stevenson's dark side user, wiping out this New Republic ship? Are they hinting at that dark side user might not be full-on Sith Lord? He might have been an ex-Jedi, which would explain the orange lightsaber he's wielding. So Ahsoka just right now duked it out with an Inquisitor in a shipyard, and she uses her force push pose from Rebels. This sequence right now you're gonna see. Wait for it. There we go. She slashes the windows, jumps out, and we see a somebody, presumably a Twilight, running out of frame. I believe that's Harrison Dula running out, and I believe that sequence when she jumps out the window, faces off that Inquisitor doing the force push, that while that is happening, Harrison Dula is off chasing that ship in the Phantom 2 with Chopper. I believe those two sequences are connected, and that somehow Darkseid users or Imperial renegades are attacking this shipyard, and both our heroines are out to stop them before they escape and get away. One is dealing out with a force user, the other one is going full on Top Gun Maverick, or Top Gun, if you will. So that's my connection with it, and I am very intrigued to see why now, after what has been presented to us in the episode 7 of season 3 of Mandalorian, why is the dark side forces revealing themselves now and publicly going to these places to get items, potentially attacking, if you will? Why now? Why is that happening?
Perhaps it is time to begin again.
Huyang. Woo! And look at this logo. Look at the symbols. So that character is Huyang, the droid, who's known as Ahsoka for a long time, up back to the Clone Wars, and he was part of a arc where she would take younglings, Padawans, to go to this planet, Elam, I believe, to search out these kyber crystals and make their own lightsabers. He, that droid, Huyang, voiced by David Tennant, would help them out build their lightsabers and go on this journey. And he's back with her potentially in this storyline and saying, perhaps it is time to begin again. Is he suggesting to her to become a Jedi Master? To teach, pass on what she's learned for a new era, for a new generation? Because, and what's beautiful is that last title, Jedi. Ahsoka does not consider herself a Jedi. She's trained in the Jedi arts, but she does not consider herself a Jedi. And if you don't know, you should go back and watch Clone Wars and realize the depth of why she doesn't consider herself a Jedi, even though she was trained like one. And that line, I believe, says a lot of like, okay, what are you gonna do now? The war is over. There's new threats coming up, but what are you gonna do? Besides being the hero, besides helping out the helpless, what are you gonna do now afterwards, once this is through? If there is a chance that this goes through, what do you do now? Does Ahsoka team up with Luke? Because we did have that scene in the Book of Boba Fett where they talk, and she says, just like your father. And he asks at one point, will I see you again? She says, maybe. May the Force be with you. Is that hinting at it? Or is she going to teach Jason? Who that is, if you don't know, I'm going to leave it to you to do some homework and realize what that is. But if you do know, I put some money down in Vegas to see if that might happen or not. Seeing it the first time in that Lucasfilm showcase at the Twins on Stage, I was just like... And then when Thrawn is revealed, the back of his head, and you hear the Empire, I was like... And you see Harrison Dula and Chopper in the Phantom 2 chasing somebody. And you see Sabine Wren, Natasha Liu Bordizzo and Sabine Wren. Just the journey. Once all was said and done, I was just a mess. I was just like... Some of these poses, I'm going to put up these questions of just stuff I came up with. Like, what is this? What is this? When will the Imperial remnants take the children of rebellion veterans? That's an element that wasn't really specified at all. In the sequel trilogy, a lot of those stormtroopers, from what I gathered in encyclopedia and knowledge of either interviews or whatnot, is that a lot of those troopers that now are bringing the fist of the First Order were kids kidnapped at a young age from old veterans who fought the war against the Empire. It has amped up cool detail, which was never deliberately said out loud. I wish it was, but maybe that might be introduced in this series. How much of Palpatine, Emperor Palpatine's contingency plans will we see play out? A lot of this stuff, I like to think, is plans that Palpatine had when he was in power. If anything went wrong, do this, this, and this. We see them played out in Battlefront 2, the video game. We see that played out in the Shattered Empire comics. We see that brought up in the most recent episode of The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 7, The Spies. That opening scene, it basically touches on that notion. And I'm going to go back and look at Rogue One, because there's a sequence of Rogue One where Cassian Andor, Jyn Erso, and K2SO are breaking into Vault, and she and he are seeing these projects the Empire have, including the Death Star plans, which is Project Stardust, but there's more plans. Will we see those brought up, played out? I don't know. A cool thing that no one's really brought up, but will the underworld of the galaxy have any say in this storyline, this next big battle at all? Will they intervene? Will the likes of like Crimson Dawn have a hand on this story or on this series? Will Boba Fett and his side have anything to do with this battle and with this series. It's a cool thing to see because it's not always just the good guys and the bad guys. It's always what's in between, what's in the middle, and what sides do they take. And in the meantime, I just urge everybody to go watch Rebels. It's 4 seasons. It's not that big of a watch for you to be like, oh, am I that behind? It's fun, engaging, beautiful series that if you know Star Wars, you'll get sort of tipping of the hats to you. If you don't know it, it's a great entry, and it's a fun group of characters you'll come to love and connect with and potentially see in this series. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown / theory of the Ahsoka teaser trailer. But until then, this is the way.